And here, just going back to the parallel between companies and cities, in the same way that Nike doesn't just produce elite shoes for the athletes and for running, it also produces socks, and it's trying to do socks better than the normal socks, but there are still socks that are like $1 a set. So very cheap things. So in the same way, a city cannot only be flagship development, cannot only be beautiful neighborhoods. Every city is made of flagship areas and very normal ones. And the important thing and the difficult part is not so much to make the exceptional, where a lot of attention and investment goes, but also is how to make the simplest parts of development a little bit special, just like Nike puts elastic parts in tactical areas to make just a simple sock a little better sock. So that is something that needs to take our attention. But also there is a social message in here. And here I go back to the Congress last year, where Agnès de Boulay said something really important. City governance should focus on dignity, should have dignity as a common agenda. And therefore, the first partner of planning bodies should be the communities, including the most underprivileged. So city governance, city planning should be focusing on dignity of people, common agenda, and involving and giving agency to the communities and the underprivileged. But also for informal areas, I would like to bring 3 aspects of value that we planners, without being sentimental, see as good element in urban, good contribution to the urban agenda. One of them is a development value. The informal areas can be built at speed, they are agile and flexible, they have organic qualities, and they are also affordable. So there is a value in there. There is also an economic value of the people that is brought by the people that live there. People that live in informal areas are generally entrepreneurial, flexible, and what we in London and in New York, we call the gig economy. People that are happy to work where it's needed, and they are essential to the functioning of a flexible and dynamic economy. But also they have social values. People move close to their families. Informal areas have strong support ecosystems, and also they bring people to live in central locations. So all of these values should be recognized and used for the planning and using tactical planning to facilitate or to bring informal areas into formal development, but also for the improvement of the informal areas themselves. So here, what you have here is a comparison between some of the Indonesian cities and other cities in the world that don't have informal districts. They have poor districts because, as we said, every city has them. And this is a comparison of GDP at parity purchase price per capita. So here is taking account of the cost of life. But as you see, the Indonesian cities are really very much comparable to cities across the world, to European capitals like London, Chicago, Berlin, or Montreal. That means that despite the informality is not really dragging the cities down. Informality is just part of how the cities are. It's just a matter of improving, managing, facilitating, and giving quality of life in those areas as well. And now, just finally, the last of the 3 topics of the Jakarta Declaration, very, very briefly, is the relationship between the city and the hinterland, the city and the rural area. And of course, the cities, we have said, they produce a huge amount of wealth and innovation and jobs. And what you see here, this is like technology. In Indonesia, went in 1990, from 1990 to 2018, so in 30 years, went to 0% to 40% of exports. But agriculture, so the contribution of the rural area, went from 22% to 13% of GDP, which is a reduction. But if you think that in 30 years, the economy has grown a lot and diversified a lot, probably in absolute terms, the contribution of agriculture has expanded as well. But the role of rural area is not just economic. It's a lot more varied than that. Of course, there is the food production supporting the cities with the essential of food, is also helping with the water balance, managing water, avoiding floods and other issues, or helping is a key element in helping the environmental agenda, the climate resilience agenda of the city itself. Also in terms of climate attenuation, in keeping the temperatures down. But also in Indonesia, particularly, the tradition and culture of the rural areas are also what are at the foundation of the culture of the cities themselves. But also there is another aspect, that is the need for a new model of suburban development. Here, these are photos from other places where I work, and what you see here in this photo was an attempt by a city to create formal development to host the people that were in overcrowded situation inside the city itself. This development is at the outskirts, was built according to standard, formal housing. Nobody wanted to live there. Why? For several reasons. First, because this area doesn't have any character. Second, because it would have meant leaving their families, their neighborhoods, their social network. And third, very important, is because the cost of going to work from this location to the center of the city was unaffordable. So even if the house was a low-cost house, the cost of living there was not worth having. And then finally, what in the city center is the shops, the streets, the social places that come with city life. In those fringe developments, often the center, the social spaces look like this. Just a junction, no character, no vocation, no potential for social interaction, bleak places. So this is the danger of just saying we just do a formal development and that's enough, that's automatically better. It's more complicated and complex than that. And then one just last final thought, that is, in the 60s or 70s, city planning was very much about taking land, subdividing, running pipes, doing infrastructure. We know now that cities are about people. Planning is about people, is about activity, is about quality of life, is about living well, is about being able to smile and have fun, as well as the infrastructure is there to support the life of people rather than the other way around. So these are just a few of the messages from the Congress and the Jakarta Declaration. You have a copy of it. It has been translated in your language. My suggestion is that maybe you form a group, a working group, and you take the declaration and you go through all of the 12 points and you try to identify what each of them, what is the message of each of them for your own city beyond the 3 ones that I have presented.